Hey, this is Njideka. I'm a financial advisor and business coach, and I'm here with my partner.
I am Kadeem Wells, who's also an investment advisor and an upcoming entrepreneur.
So we're going to talk about just regular topics. We're not necessarily giving any type of financial advice or investment advice. This is just, we are having conversations. So I guess we'll figure out what we end up calling this. I don't know, but it'll come to us. So
Eventually.
I
got a post.
Okay.
Your girl Lotto said, being rich is boring. I became a millionaire at 21. When you're broke, you chase money. But once you have it, it's boring.
My thoughts on that would be, what were you chasing it for? You know, what was your purpose? I don't think that getting money isn't just for the sake of getting money. Affluence isn't for the sake of that or anything. Part of, you know, the conversations that I have with people is, what is your purpose? How do you want to make impact, right? Help assist the family, whatever that is. If what you do to bring in money connects to that, you're less likely to have, I think, that type of a, that response.
Mindset.
Yeah, that mindset.
That's the first thing I thought about was purpose, because of what we do in our field when we're teaching people how to save and invest and do all that good stuff. What do you tell a 21-year-old with $1 million if they ain't lived enough?
Well, I think there is something to tell them. I don't think she was told it. So I know, obviously I told you, right? Whether it's my own 23-year-old niece or people that I'm working with, right, that might be young, you know, you gotta dig a person that's right. If we're working with them, I do have to ask you, like, what do you want? And they might not know. I guess maybe it's to your point, right? They might not totally know. Like maybe somebody in their late 20s or their 30s or 40s or above
may have more of an idea.
May have more of an idea. Obviously, has lived a bit more life. But there are certain things that they care about, right? So they may care about their community. They may care about their family. They may have siblings, so they can at least articulate certain things.
You talking about a 21-year-old?
Even a 21-year-old. Even a 21-year-old, they can't articulate the same things that you articulate.
Right. So what I'm saying is for her to make this statement to say, okay, I'm bored. If you take a kid from the inner city and you drop $1 million, what's the first thing they're gonna do?
Want to spend it?
They're gonna turn up. It's getting jewelry, I'm getting the car. They don't realize $1 million, it's a lot of money, but it can go like that.
Real quick.
Because if they say, I wanna go buy a house, they gonna think they gotta cash out on the house.
Yeah.
Okay? So at that age, you getting it so instantly, 21, 22, 23, you rapping, you going across the world. For her, in her mind, she probably thinks I've accomplished everything. Versus, like I said, having that mindset of, okay, if I'm making this money, I can really impact our community. Okay, her being a young black woman, I can go buy a whole block and renovate it in. Let's say she rented it out to single mothers or something, or at-risk youth. Her mind is not thinking like that.
Right.
If her mind was to transform, then she understands, wait, not only am I getting money quickly and easily, I can not only reinvest it and build a whole community and help other people at the same time, but also understand I'm making money from rent. Okay, rental income. I'm getting equity. She can let that bill, pull some money out, buy some more property. There are multiple things that she can do. So with her saying that, what do you think at her age, what do you think she should be thinking about now that she made that statement?
And you know what? I think I missed something. Lotto's 21 right now?
Not right now. She's older than 21.
Okay.
She said she said she became a millionaire
at 21. Okay.
I think she's like 27 or something now, though.
Well, part of
26, I don't know.
Part of what I'm wondering is, who are you around? Because if you, in my opinion, right, you will want to be around people who are, sometimes we'll say, selling the dream, right? Or just, or selling a vision of like what a different level looks like.
But you got to remember, she's a rapper. So
understood.
She's in the club. We know what that lifestyle brings. Get it, spend it, get it, spend it. So the people that she's around with money, in the hip hop industry, do you think they're saying, hey, let me pull you to the side, let's have a conversation about what you should be doing? Or is it more of, we on the road and we just get in the bag? Yeah,
I think it depends on who you're around. Because I think that we've seen different podcasts or different people doing interviews, including musicians, including rappers, that say, you know what, I got a business. Y'all didn't even know this. Y'all didn't even know that I did this on the side, right? Whether it was maybe group homes, things dealing with housing, or have multiple properties, or things dealing with trucking companies and so forth. So I think people That's why it's like it depends on who she's around, you know.
Okay.
But because yes, what you're referring to absolutely exists, right? The mindset of I get it, I spend it, I'm flashy, right? Material, not saying a good, bad, whatever, but that exists for sure. But I have seen that another mindset also does exist,
At 21. Well, it does exist. It does exist because
it really
let's
does
be
depend.
honest.
Yeah.
When I was 21,
Uh-huh.
about to finish my last year at Morehouse, that most normal kids are in that position of I'm trying to become something so I can go make money. I want to buy a house. I want to have money later on in life. I want to build something. So yes, that is possible that you can have that mindset. Now let me ask you this then. If you met Lotto today and she just made that statement, what would be your conversation with her? What would you say?
Who were you around at that time? Did you have any who was managing your money? Like when those checks came in, who were you having conversations with? And just allow her to talk, so I can get a better understanding of where she was at that time. What was influencing her? Because
no, you saying at that time. She said this now. She's bored.
Well, then we need to have a life conversation. She needs to put her legs up on the couch, and I need to figure out, what do you care about? Yeah. You have to care about something. If you believe in God, the way I believe in God, I would not be here if there was not still something that I'm supposed to be carrying out.
Right.
And so since you woke up, there's something that you are supposed to be carrying out, and it's okay that you may not know what it is very interesting. For a person like her, it would be very interesting that you have achieved these various things and you still don't know that.
Right.
But certainly not to put somebody in it to be judgmental about it. But you got to start having that conversation. Is what is important to you?
Yeah, she still got time. I mean, she's still young. She's still in her 20s, so she has a whole lot of time. But I just find it interesting that with the cycle of hip hop entertainment, we've seen this story over and over. And like you said, okay, who are you around? There had to be somebody in her group that she sees and seen the life that they've either created, or somebody you would think would sit down and have that conversation with her of, all right, you getting money at 21.
Yep.
You gonna wild out, you gonna have some fun, cool. But you have to start to think about, what are you gonna do 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah.
So since she's making this statement now, of course she got this money years ago. She's still hot right now. Okay, now we gotta think about the next 10 to 15.
Right.
Okay, what is your mission?
Right.
What we doing? You can make music forever, but you're not gonna be hot forever.
Correct.
And I think that's the part that a lot of these artists don't conceive when they first get on, because there's no mentorship program for rappers and entertainers.
That was the word. That's exactly where I was about to go to.
But you would think the OGs would sit her down and have a conversation with her.
No, I won't.
You would think.
You would hope.
Okay, you would hope. You would hope
but
that would take place.
But it doesn't shock me that it didn't either,
Yeah.
And you said something. Oh, and I think that actually connects to a bigger conversation. There are a lot of things that people can do, kind of connects to what we're talking about off camera. There are a lot of things that people can do to get money quick, right? So music is one of those things, to get money quick, right? Sports may be one of those things you get money quick, right? Because you have a certain talent, certain skill set, right? Even things dealing with brand, you get money quick. It is up to you. You have to understand that may not always be there. Right. Ideally, you have people around you that are able to help you think like that, right? Like, just like you said, thinking 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. So for her, if music is not that thing, what will be that thing? Right. Are we right now, while you are hot, are we setting up the other things behind the scenes so that even if that did cool down, you still, like, the lifestyle doesn't change, right? Or the goals, right, that you had, it can still happen because you've set things up.
So, setting things up, what would be the top 3 things you would, if you had a conversation you had in front of you, what would be the top 3 things she should look at to set up to continue her journey on growth, and making sure her money is doing something for her to where she won't be bored?
Yeah. Well, first thing is going to be foundation. Like we have to have foundational conversations.
Okay.
That's going to be the first. It's not the sexy stuff. As well, we go. Sometimes I always say, I'm not about to tell you to go buy a property or anything like that. No, I need to just know what do you want.
Go buy a commercial building?
Right. Exactly. Right. And try to fill it ASAP. No, I just need to know what you want. I need to know, we need to have a cash flow conversation.
Okay.
Do we know what's coming in? What do you have coming in? Where is it coming in from? Which sources, right? Is it a ongoing thing? Is it like one big check? Like,
right.
What is it and what's going out?
So you're basically saying how's she getting paid?
Yeah,
Okay.
cash flow. What's coming in?
Because we know she's getting show money. But
exactly.
Besides that, what else?
I need all the
is
sources.
coming in. Okay,
For sure. All the sources, and then I need to know what's going out. What's going out? So we're going to do the same way that I would tell somebody making.
Budget.
So same way that I would tell somebody making 50,000 this is the same way I'm gonna tell somebody making 50 million, right? 500,000.
You need a budget.
You need a budget, right? Mm-hmm. And then one conversation. This could go various ways, right? But there will eventually be a conversation about what is the protocol around spending, and this is why having accountability partners, coaches, certain advisors. I know people have like certain experiences with advisors, right? I get it, I understand, but having accountability partners that, whether it's an accountant that you trust, some people don't, I get it again, but somebody that you trust that where we all are seeing what's coming in, we all are seeing what's going out, and we're able to, and if certain types of purchases need to be made, there's a process, there's an understanding, because we all know what the goals are. We all know what the goals are. We know what we're trying to get to. We know where we're trying to get this to in 5 years. We know where we're trying to get this to in 10 years. Are the decisions that we're making taking us towards that?
Right.
And having people that buy into that type of
So, if we're talking about a budget, most people, which is, okay, because we're in the finance game, we don't find it strange of having a budget.
Yeah.
But most people would think that a Lotto, a Cardi B, a Jay-Z, a Beyonce, they would think they're getting so much money that they're not on a budget. Mm-hmm. But wealthy people who really grown their money, Jay-Z is on a budget.
Right.
He's just on a bigger budget than somebody who makes $50,000 a year.
Absolutely.
Because he's not going to just spend his money. If that was the case, he wouldn't be worth over $2 billion right now.
That's correct.
Because he has to understand, okay, I'm getting show money. Then he was getting album money. Then he, got in, like you said, brand deals and stuff to build. And I think that's the biggest misconception, especially for our generation and then Gen Z. I think it's really a big discrepancy because you got TikTokers, you got YouTubers or influencers, if you want to call it, and it seems like everybody's running through this money and it's just, they think it's going to continue to come. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you have to lock in and understand, I just can't spend everything. There has to be a budget. So how do you feel like it should be presented to somebody in that way of being on a budget from somebody who they making the money and they feel this is my money? Mm-hmm. Why should I have to do this? What you think would be a great explanation for them?
Okay, it's a couple of things. One is, if I'm working with somebody, you and I have to be on the same page. Okay. I don't babysit people. What I mean by that is you got to be coachable to what we're doing. And if you're not coachable to the plan. And if you're not coachable to that, then I'm not saying that these people exist too, right? And they do people dirty. I don't just work with somebody just for you to pay the invoice and then you just to be living life. No, don't pay it. Don't pay it, because I actually care about this. Right.
But that's a big thing too, because we hear about the rappers and the athletes not trusting advisors. But I think some of that comes down to self-education as well. Okay. Meaning, if you're going to get you an accountant or a financial advisor, whatever you want to call it, you have to take some accountability and sit down and say, I need to learn what a budget sheet is. Right. Okay. Then I need to learn, okay, if my advisor is telling me, okay, I need to invest in stocks or real estate, you should want to educate yourself on that.
Education is key. I absolutely agree with you. It's not just you handing over things to somebody. You need to be involved. There might be some, because the way that it works with me, like especially if I have a client and I'm working, which I always do, I'll work with their accountant, right? CPA. If there's an attorney at play, then, for certain things we might engage the attorney. at the end of the day, when I had that conversation with the client, correct, we have to get clear on what the goal is. I have to know what that is, right? I help them to execute on certain things. Certain people want things, right? They might have a goal, but the advisor is the person that kind of also helps them to understand how to do it. They can help them break it down so they can be executed. So once we are clear on what the goals are, then I will let you know, okay, that means that this needs to be executed, that needs to be executed, this amount is going towards that, this amount is going towards that, so that they're like, okay, got it. So they know, you know, they know of this large check that's coming through. They already know in advance. They know the process. And so what I now do, I don't have to have them on every single call. I'm executing, right? And in some way I might be keeping them in the loop, whether it's through email, via text, right? Our phone calls, like they're kept in the loop, but they have trust that I am executing, right? Or their team is executing. And then what's gonna happen is, once that happens, is we gotta come back, right? There are regular meetings that happen. And so it really depends on the type of team that you have. But there was something that you said earlier that made me think. So I used to work with a wealth advisory firm a couple years ago. I was the only black woman, I was the only black person, okay? And me and the CEO sat down. Me and the CEO were sitting and talking, and we were having a candid conversation. And one of the things he said was, white man, if that somehow wasn't clear, but one of the things he said was, one of the reasons why he believes that people of color, I think we specifically were talking about black people, but people of color have challenges building wealth, is that we give too quick.
Talking about like our friends and family?
Correct. We are trying to support too quick. The fruit just started to sprout and you're already passing the fruit out, when in fact you actually need to some degree close your hands and let it grow. There will come a time that you will be able to give out, right? But you have to understand it can't all be right now, you know? And so having people like advisors and so forth, I've said that to people. Like, I'll be like, hey, tell them I said so.
You gotta
like,
say no.
Tell them it's because of me. Like, if you tell them it's because of me, because I can handle that.
But what if they dealing with survivor's remorse?
Okay, so what would that look like? What does that look like? Okay,
so whether rapper, athlete, entrepreneur, they come into some money. And like you said, this gentleman told you that a lot of African American people don't build wealth because they want to dish out and give first.
Have trouble. I don't want to make it absolute, but they have trouble.
Well, they have trouble saying no.
Correct.
When the money start rolling in.
Correct. Yes.
So what I'm saying is, if you're coming from a impoverished community, the urban city, you never had this amount of money. So when you made it, they're saying we made it. So if you're having a conversation with this individual, how do you break that down if they have survivor's remorse, feeling like, well, if I'm getting money, I need to help my auntie, my cousin, my niece, my nephew. How are you going to have that conversation with them to where you got to tell them, hey, you might have to say no for a little bit until we get these things under wraps? How are you going to have that conversation with them?
So one of the first things we'll do is, I need to know who's important to you.
Okay.
That's an actual conversation.
We have a priority.
Who's a priority? We have a who's a priority budget too. Part of the budget, because I understand that. That's just, if you are right? We always talk about relational person, right? If you are that person, it's just like,
want to help everybody.
It's understandable, and I'm not about to make that. That's not even a natural thing for you. I'm not gonna make you. I'm not gonna force you to just totally stop that. But we have to put boundaries on it, right? And so that's a way where. So I have the list early on, right? I'm like, okay, who's a priority? And we list the people out. We list it out, and it might look like, so people can list it out. So that I know that. I was about to say Ray, but you know, whoever, right?
Divine.
Right, exactly. I know that these other people, right, and we can have a conversation. It's almost like, even in like relationship, sometimes you'll have, and sometimes people do this within themselves. I know I would do this sometimes with myself. I have the conversation with myself beforehand, so that when the conversation actually comes, you know, when I'm presented with the issue or the challenge, I already know how I'm going to respond, right? And so it's the same thing. It's having that conversation with them in advance to say, all right, so who are those people? Okay, so it's this person and that person. So anybody else, it's not that it could never happen, but it ain't happening now. right? And so we I know we know who those people are. We even know what the budget is, because even there's a restriction with those particular people as well. It's not all willy-nilly, but it's, again, just having that conversation, not being totally black and white about it, saying, listen, I understand that, we're gonna give something to that, but and it'll grow over time, but these are the goals first, and these are the priorities first. And I think if you have that type of a conversation, and, you know, obviously in a compassionate way.
Would you suggest if they sit down with those immediate family members or friends that they care about, and that they have a discussion with them as well of, look, I know that my career is starting to take off. I love you guys. But at the same time, you guys have to do something too. Meaning, are you going to school? Are you trying to start a business? Are you trying to bring some value to yourself versus just thinking I'm going to provide the value? Would you have a conversation with a client like that? Whether you're an athlete or entrepreneur or you know, entertainer? I
mean, I think that could be part of the conversation too. Like, is there anybody... maybe that's a, you know, if there's any more than this pot, then that will be the conversation. It's how could you be an asset to what, quote unquote, is being built.
Okay.
Right?
Because they need to be an asset to themselves first. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Don't just say, so let's say you become this big celebrity financial advisor, you making money. Your cousins and stuff just can't sit around and say, well, Njideka made it. I need to pay my car note. Let me call you.
Can't say that.
Okay. I need to pay my car note, or I want to buy a new car. No. I have to see that you're doing something. So are you in school?
Absolutely.
Are you working?
For sure.
Okay. Yes, because I'm on the road and I'm becoming successful, you still got to take care of yourself, because I'm not going to always be here.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by, would you just encourage them to have that conversation with their family? Like, that's how you really build generational wealth. It's not just getting money and then passing money. It's education. You got to learn what to do. You got to be self-sufficient. Just because I'm handing you down some money, if I give you money or if I pass away and you inherit the money, you got to know what to do with it. So you would encourage them to have that conversation with their family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I might, because again, there might literally be a basic, I'll give you an example. Like, you may say, so let's say you made $1 million, right? You made $1 million, you're like, listen, at the end of the day, I do want to be able to help my community or my family, certain people, right? So you may say, you know what, $25,000 I'm putting in this account. Don't nobody else know that $25,000 account exists except me.
Just the family budget.
That's the family budget, right? I know what that equates to every single month as well, right? So if somebody asks me for something, you might even give somebody a hard time. I'm not even gonna lie to you, right? So you might even give somebody a hard time, but in your mind, you know, all right, they need $200.
I got this little pot over here.
Exactly.
For $2,000. Okay, I'm gonna give them a hard time, but I know I'm gonna give it to them.
Exactly.
Because this is the budget that's gonna last for the year.
For the year. That's the type of conversation. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I think Cedric the Entertainer said he does that. If I'm not mistaken, it's him. He said he put $100,000 to the side every year, just in case the family come asking for something. But I believe it was Cedric the Entertainer, which that's a great idea. Yeah. That's a great idea. But you're right with that 25. You ain't getting 100 out of me.
And maybe as you, because it's up to you, right? But as maybe the income. Oh, you said get out to you. Yeah, you real frugal friend, so you gotta already know. But
like to work for it.
But beyond,
I'll put in this work.
Yeah, and beyond that, right? The next level is going. That means the conversation needs to happen. Like, what asset can you be, like you said, to yourself, and maybe to the brand.
Right.
Which for sure. All
right. So speaking of a family budget.
Yep.
Okay. We started the conversation talking about lotto, but let's talk about the regular, average, and ordinary person.
Yeah.
That is in our community, looking up. So let's take. What about a 26, 27? They still a millennial or they're Gen Z? Or they both?
I think that's
Z? Okay. Whichever one they are. It don't matter.
For me?
Millennials like born early 90s. It goes up to the early.
You Gen Z? Okay.
Yeah.
2002.
Okay. So the average young adult in this day and age, like I said, the world is changing. We got AI coming into place. A lot of people don't even know how to use AI or understand the significance of it. There's been a lot of job cuts over the year, from the administration that's in, and a lot of companies are cutting back. So how do you feel a young person should be feeling right now when it comes to the economy, when it comes to life in general. And then, you know, dealing with that idea of, if you take a 22, 23-year-old who, let's say they didn't go to college, but they see a lotto and all the money she making and what she doing, and you know they want to live like that. Most of them don't want to work. What would be your advice to this next wave of young people when it comes to everything that's going on right now?
You can always have to work. So it really, the answer to you.
They don't want to work.
Okay, well, you're not gonna make no money. Then you are
having
delusional.
a 9 to 5 is lame.
Okay, no problem.
That's how they look at it.
No problem. But you will have to work in some way, shape, form, or fashion. The work is that will have to happen. So I don't care, even if you do brand deals and you think that people, at the end of the day, there's still some even degree of work for that, okay?
And that's the part they don't get. You want to be a TikToker or a YouTuber. When it comes to making content, there's another word that go with content. It's called consistency.
Absolutely.
You have to consistently make videos.
Yes.
Make videos. That's why someone like a Kai Cenat, it looks like he's just having fun, which he is, but that's consistent every day.
Y'all seen him later when his locks are here, where y'all looking at him when his locks was up here, like he's been doing this for a very, very long time. I think I saw a little thing with Mr. Beast. Somebody had the three people, Mr. Beast, Kai, and then Speedy. Somebody named Speedy? Yeah, or Speed, excuse me. Sorry. But to respond, like, I'm going to have the same conversations that I have with my niece.
Right.
Same conversations that I have with my niece. My niece will tell you, because I remember we had a conversation. We had a conversation where I can't remember if it was on the phone, FaceTime, I don't know. But one of the things I told her was, I was like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm your auntie.
Right.
So I'm gonna love you. It don't really matter, right? I said, but when it comes to business, I have the option to work with you or not work with you.
Right.
But all that meant is, the reason why she's here is because I know I see her potential, and she's putting work in, kind of similar to what you said. Like, what if people wanted more and this or that? You know where that came from? My mom. I realized that when my mom would see us doing with the things that we need to do, like when I graduated from college, right? I got a brand new car. One could be like, dang, she got you a brand new car. I went to school. I didn't cause major issues.
Right.
I graduated. I went to grad school.
Essentially, you worked for the car.
I worked for the car.
And that was
you know what I'm saying? And so, same thing. If she needs something, but I'm also seeing her go out and she's doing what she needs to do to figure out life, right? We're just here. I'm here, like in kind of the background in the case that she needs me to navigate. But especially with what she's doing now, she, at the end of the day, she's had a job before, right? So get the basic disciplines with that. Learn what getting paid per hour does feel like. That you gonna have to do it. I don't know what people are they're in love with the outcome and they really don't understand the process. One of the things that she's learning right now is she's learning the process. With the outcome,
but don't understand the process.
Don't understand it, and they like, oh, it's too hard.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to work. It's two types of hard. You can work real hard at a job, or you can work real hard to build something for yourself. Either way, it's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be hard.
But where do you think the delusion comes from? Not the delusion, but the illusion that money just gonna come. I don't want to do nothing, but I just want to get the money. Where do you think that come from? Because it's not just the Gen Z that's dealing with that. Our generation dealt with that too, even though we didn't have social media. But there was a wave of, whether it's you think you're gonna be an athlete, entertainer, and that money just supposed to come, so you don't really want to work. And then Generation X, they dealt with it too. Where do you think that comes from the human mind, that I don't have to work to get this? I just should just have this money. It just should be there.
Well, I think like Gen Z, I think is pretty. Everybody is probably consensus that social media, right? Because people are not showing the story. They're not showing the behind the scenes. They're just showing the kind of the more glamorous parts. I guess maybe more so our generation. I'm like, I don't know. Again, that might have really had to do with the environment, because depending on the environment that you grew up in, like I saw hard work, right? So that there was never an illusion that hard work didn't exist. But I think whether it's We Connect or whether, a lot of our colleagues connect, is that we just said we saw hard work, but we want to work smarter. Right. I don't want to work harder. Yeah, I want to work smarter. And so how can I do that? And that transition came. And so now I think, like you said, Gen Z is like, I don't want to work. It's not even working smarter. It's I don't want to work, and it's like that's not going. That's not going to work.
Money.
I just want money.
Have the money,
right? Even brand deal, like a brand deal is a short-term contract.
Yeah,
it's a short-term contract. Meaning you have to keep. You still got to go find another one, and find another one, and find another
Life
one.
Life is like a job.
Yeah, you gonna work either way, and in many cases, regardless. You do stuff like that. You working longer hours and all of that stuff. So than a job. So you have to have the vision and the work ethic.
That's the biggest misconception, is that you think it's not work, but it's really work. All these influencers, they're working, they're filming content.
Yes.
They just gotten really, really good at it, so now they're producing it, but it's still work.
Yes.
You know, it's fun if you know what you're doing and you hang in there. But like I said, they don't see the grind. Because I just think it's gotten out of control, though, to where people literally, like, you don't want to do no work. And especially for our community, the black community is built off hard work.
Yeah.
You know, from Black Wall Street. That was something we built. Our people who were here 100 years ago, they built something, okay? Whether it was in Harlem, okay? They built something where we had black businesses, black teachers, black doctors. So it's just amazing to me that the idea has turned to where I ain't gotta work. But I think that's the social media aspect of it. And I think it's kind of dangerous, man. It's kind of dangerous because it was another video I was talking about when you said, okay, what are we gonna talk about? And I said, it's a video of some kids running through the Fox Hills Mall on Memorial Day. Getting out there, I'm talking about running amok. They fighting and all that, the girls, the boys. All of this ties to economics to me, because most of those kids, their parents are millennials. And ain't a lot of parenting going on. And it could be different reasons why it's not parenting. Is your mom working 2 to 3 jobs?
Right.
Or is your mom not just your mom, but mom and dad, so both parents. Yeah. Or are they suffering from the illusion that I don't really want to work either. I should just be able to get money because I want to get on Instagram and TikTok and do that all day and think I'm just going to make money, where they're not raising their children. So now there's no work ethic.
I'm sorry, it could even be the grandparents, like people have caregivers. It's not even the parents.
The grandparents,
you know. No, like you're making reference to parents raising the children.
Right.
I'm saying it could be somebody them being raised by somebody else. In the case that the parents aren't involved.
Right.
Is all I'm saying. That's all I meant.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if the parents aren't involved, like you said, it could be multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Whether parent could be passed away, parent could be in jail, parent could be on drugs, or they can be a no good parent. It's different scenarios. Right. But all of that we just talked about still comes down to economics to me. Economics and work. You don't work, you don't eat. Mm-hmm. So if you're not installing that into your children, they gonna get out here and run it up. So in this video, these kids are just running through, fighting. It's crazy to me that's where, now it's nothing new. Okay, that's happened before, but I don't think it was to this point. Because I know a couple years ago in Torrance that happened at the Delamo Mall. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just amazed me, like, okay, what are the parents doing with their children? What values are we teaching them? If they already don't want to work, okay, so like you said, you grew up seeing hard work. I grew up in an environment where my mother actually was an entrepreneur, but she didn't know she was an entrepreneur. Okay, she worked jobs, and then she started a daycare. When you have no experience in running business, okay, my mom had a daycare where we had all these kids in my house, but I'm trying to figure out where the money at.
Right. Okay,
where's the money?
Right.
You know, because she's being nice, she's a R, relational, giving everybody a job, and I'm like, okay, where the money for me? Mm-hmm. But my perspective was, okay, I saw my mom struggle. I don't want to struggle. So I'm going to go become somebody.
Right.
I'm going to make sure I find out how to learn finance so that when me and Jaquetta have children, we're raising them in an environment where a kid should learn about hard work, learn how to conduct themselves in public, okay? And understanding that, you know, like I said, you went through 4 years of college. All right, your parents bought you a car. If you work hard, it will pay off. Now, it may not pay off right away. You didn't go to college on day 1 and then graduate on day 2. It took 4 years. Where do you think, from social media to what we talked about even with Lotto and the Million, the average person in this time of building and raising their children, getting themselves together, putting together a plan, how would you formulate that? with all that I just said, I know I said a lot, but
You did. You
just
had to
put
say it
together.
again, in fact.
But I'm saying, if you put it together, you still okay. Let's focus on what I said about the kids.
Okay.
I tie that to economics because if parents were able to put their kid, now don't get me wrong, the kids in Beverly Hills, they be doing stuff too. They ain't perfect. But what I'm saying is, economics has a lot to do with, I think, a child's behavior based on environment.
Environment. I was about to say, yeah, I was gonna say community, but yep,
Yeah,
environment.
based on environment.
And what they are exposed to.
Right.
If I'm able to, if either the community itself has access to certain programming, you know, whether a more affluent community or less, but still the access to a particular program is there, because you have different people who come from, you know, South LA, Inglewood, Compton, and so forth, but they're like, there was a particular program that was there, right? Even though they lived in certain neighborhoods. Church, right? There are particular programs that are there, and so boom, they have access, and then they, you know, they find their pathways to, you know, different, they're on different journeys to success or whatever. So I think, yeah, and economics does play a role in that. But I think, yeah, just having access to certain programming. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, my background is in community organizing. So doing work in South Central LA, a lot of door knocking, a lot of, you know, phone, working at the South LA high schools. And that was one of the biggest things. So we had a youth program, and the youth that were in that program were so articulate, so brilliant, obviously Black and brown youth, right? Because that's the organization we worked, that's who we primarily worked with. But it was the fact that they had access to a particular program, right? And freaking Vermont, like in the heart of South LA, they had access to a particular program. And so one of the reasons why I even shifted into the financial world was in part because of that dynamic. It was to say, we keep going after grants. We keep going after public funding, right? Even the organization that I work with, nonprofits.
Nonprofits are going after grants.
Yeah, but what a lot of these funders do is they're like, okay, well, you got to do the program this way, or we want to see it done this way. No, I'm from the community. I'm in with these folks. So what I need to do is I need to build up my finances, build up my money, my disposable money, so that I could fund the programming that I want to address what you just so that
I'm clear, you're saying if you apply for a grant, which is essentially somebody else's money, in order to get that grant, they're saying your program has to be ran a certain way.
Okay. Exactly. You have to apply for the grant, but there are certain parameters, you know, things that they want to see. But it's like, you're not from the community. So if you're telling me your grant parameters, your funding parameters say that this key thing that's a part of the program that I know that the kids need, you don't really care for it, then I got to take it out.
Gotcha.
You know, and so that literally is what made me shift to say, I gotta learn finances, because I don't want us to have to, you know, look to other people to get funding because of exactly what I said, what you visually are saying.
Because we know the environment and what the kids need, or what our community may need, even though their guidelines say that. I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
So speaking of that, when you talk about funding, I think personally, all the neighborhoods across America, you know, when it comes to the political stuff, they always want to point at Chicago. But I think that whether Chicago, Compton, Inglewood, Baltimore, Harlem, the Bronx, it doesn't matter. If our community started to, well, I guess they got to learn this, what I'm about to say. Valuing the community where they live. It doesn't matter if you feel like you are middle class or lower class right now. To start to value the community. If you drive down Western and you see all these homeless encampments, you see all these abandoned buildings, to get to that, how do you think people can start to find that value of their community first, which can lead to education? Because if y'all understand, look, this abandoned building that y'all writing up on, y'all tagging on, this is a piece of real estate. If y'all fix it up, you can live in it or rent it out to build something for your family. So what do you think it'd take to get to that point?
So this is
self-worth kicks in first.
Yeah.
To understand that.
I feel like this really is taking me back to the work that we used to do, because we used to work with a lot of the gangs in the different neighborhoods. At the end, so one, I was about to say, the YNs is gonna be YNs, right?
The YNs gonna YN. I got a theory on that too, though.
Okay, we'll come back. Okay, we'll come back.
I got a theory on the YNs.
So, but I think that it starts early. It starts with parents, because it's about who influences the
Right.
person. Who is their influence? Go to
Right.
the influencer. So if the parent is the influencer, if there are certain young people that are influencers, if it's certain leaders, community leaders, right? Gang leaders and community leaders too, right?
Right.
If there are go to the influencers.
That was gonna be my answer to the YNs.
Oh yeah.
It's always gonna be good and bad.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be some bad.
Yeah.
But if the gang leaders, as you call them, community leaders, if they can get you to do wrong, I think they got influence for them to do right. I personally think that some people do like the destruction.
Yes.
I think some people do personally like it. But it can be fixed if the community, but I think at first you got to start with self-worth. So if you know you have a household, whether the mom, like I said, the mom, the dad, the grandma, and they set their family down and they said, look, we're going to stop this foolery. And then the neighbor next door, they did the same thing. We're going to stop all of this. I think that's how it's going to start. What do you think about that?
I think pockets of accountability and pockets of unity. I agree. Like pockets of people getting on, but there have been different iterations of that. So like in LA, we have neighborhood councils, for example, right? If you're familiar with that, there are different ways that has shown itself. And, again, depending on who then gets in certain leadership, or depending on what somebody, this person's interest is versus
really
that person's. Yeah. So, I think there are ways that has happened, but right. I mean, to a certain degree, there also comes a time where it's like, okay, just get yourself together, right? Your family together, right? Even if it's just you, even if the three neighbors, right, you and your two neighbors on either side are on the same page, then okay, that's a start, right? It's because, right, like you said, nothing's gonna be perfect. To the YN piece, even some of the I don't want to say OGs, but like some of the
OGs
leaders
act like YNs.
Okay.
Yeah, they got the mindset.
I was gonna say not the opposite, but I was gonna say that some of the OGs
their
would
brain
be like,
hasn't developed yet.
But correct, that's true. But some of them even are like, I can't control this. Like he just is like some young dudes are just out, just wild out, So, but like you said, nothing's perfect. But getting to the influencers, and doing just the best that you can do to get to the influencers.
I can go on and on about that.
Yeah,
but
that's.
We'll say that for another day.
Yes,
a different concept. But
whole nother.
I think all of this, especially what we talked about so far, it all comes down to economics and influence and economics and understanding. I think that's all very important to fix this, because right now your boy Trump and Elon beefing, and
I can't.
We that's gonna have a role on the economics too. Yeah. But even with them beefing. The people that come from South Central, Inglewood, they don't fully they don't even care that Elon and Trump is beefing, because they don't understand why they're beefing. They don't even know how that affects our people.
I think power, there are so many different things that are at play, whether it's education, right? Understanding how one thing affects another, let alone, and then how it trickles down. I think understanding power, the role of power, the existence of power, the fact that you have power, right? But people want you and systems want you to think that you don't have power, you know? And so if we came together in a powerful way, like that power is a huge thing. And so, to keep us fragmented is kind of a part of the plan. But yeah, I think it's just different. I'm just, we talked about it earlier, I'm just kind of sitting back and observing, controlling what I can control as far as, with respect to the Trump and Elon conversation, like the delusion, even if you watch like a lot of the, on like TikTok and things like that, you watch some of the hearings and stuff that a lot of the committees, it's racism. They're like, listen, here I am, you know what I'm saying? Misogyny, here I am. It's just out, it's out in a way that it just hasn't been and hadn't. It's overt. And so there is a degree of, especially after the election, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just mind my own business at this point, I'm gonna sit these next 4 years out, or I'm just gonna do what I can in my pocket, and because to pay attention to the tennis match that's going on, whether it's with the president or with his cronies, or with, in the committee meetings, like, it will make you go crazy.
Yeah, it might drive you crazy.
So there's only so much that I pay attention to.
I was just about to say
and
that.
it
You
just-
still gotta pay attention so you can know what's going on.
Correct.
But you probably don't want to overindulge because it will drive you crazy. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I like that it's overt. The reason why is because now I know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
I know how you feel, and that I think that's where us as a people should understand. I mean, they telling you right in front of your face, bro. Like, you gonna believe them or not, whether those that came through office and it wasn't overt and it was hidden. We know it's there. So now, what are you going to do about this? What are you and your family, you and your friends, what is our community going to do to fix these problems? I think we got to play both sides. We do need to do it ourselves at the same time, but at the same time, we need to get out of them what we feel we need.
We understand this,
because the lobbyists get what they want.
For sure, learning the system is very,
Right.
very important. Learning the game is very, very
Right.
important.
You gotta learn to play the
People
game.
are making money. Yes, we know the isms exist, right? Racism, right? Everything, all these different things exist. It's understanding, even in that, how can we pull out what we need to pull out for our communities? There's so many, for example, right, we just talked about public funding at a state level, at a federal level. There's so much money that people are making, becoming not just multimillionaires, but billionaires off of funding. Okay, I know you don't like this person, you don't like that person, but we need somebody to learn the game.
Yeah, that's why Elon tripping now, because they taking away his government funding.
Exactly.
His welfare.
Exactly, right? Oh, now he's
Right,
talking about he's getting deported. Talking about he's here illegal. Trump talking about he's here illegally.
Yeah, dude, that's very, very important. I think the next time we sit down, maybe we should put something together. Okay, in this time period, what are some solutions we can show people to start taking steps and really taking a mental deep dive and understanding, hey, look, at this moment, you might not understand how this stuff is affecting you, but 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to affect everybody. So you got to understand these different pockets of finances, economics, whatever term you would like to use. You got to pay attention to what's going on so you can understand how it's going to affect you and your family years from now. Because with the AI coming in, yes, it's going to take a lot of jobs, but there still will be jobs that need to be done, and we need to learn how to do that. Working a job is not bad. Even though we're entrepreneurs, I've never been the type to say working a 9 to 5 is lame. Like, somebody got to work.
Somebody got to do
Somebody got to work.
And heck, you going to hire people, I'm going, everybody has a role. Everybody has a role. And I'm sorry, you asked the AI question earlier, and I don't even think I addressed it. But
I think a lot of people don't understand AI and how it's going to affect our communities and the working world.
And it's so important for people to learn it. And it's easy to, because I've had it, like within my community, I've had a couple of sessions where I was like, I have a community, and, I have people that are in their 20s, I have people in their 30s and their 40s. I have even somebody in their 50s in there, but it's just like, he's like, I got to get the information. But I remember I had one of our training sessions, and I talked about AI, and I just talked about it in terms of, I think, I used the headshot piece, because I was like, as a business owner, entrepreneur, you constantly need to have photo shoots, right? If you cannot pay for the large photo shoot, just get AI, just get AI in there. It'll buy you some time, right? And to be able to program it, just knowing how to program it. Yes, some people will be replaced. But innovation would have done that anyways. AI, no AI, innovation would have, what was that? What's the Ford did the assembly line, right? All the machine, like at the end of the day, innovation was going to come one way or another.
Evolution is going to take place over time, no matter what.
No matter what. And so it's up to you to position yourself. And AI, again, part of it is hiring people who know how to use AI. It's not just that the AI of the baby versions of people.
When they doing the radio stuff.
Exactly. Like it's not just that they came out, and you're like, oh my God, that replaced this person and that person. Somebody has to learn how to program that. It takes like 2, 3, maybe even 4 different AI platforms in order to create that, right? So the person who learns that, who said, this isn't gonna intimidate me. I'm gonna take the time to learn this stuff. I'm gonna make some mistakes, but I'm gonna get real good so I can produce this product that makes y'all laugh and entertains y'all. Somebody, because because I was able to do that and I took the time, I'm going to get paid for that.
Right, you get paid for it. So
It behooves us to learn it, you know.
that's important.
Very. I use it for writing all the time. All the time.
Correct your sentences. It can put together a
time.
paragraph for you.
Yes.
All of that. So I think all that's important. But like I said, in everything that we discuss, it always comes down to the money, in my opinion.
You like economics.
With what I know, with the things I know now, this whole game of life comes down to money. And it's not about having the most money, but it's about understanding money.
Yeah.
And why is it important? A lot of people say, you know, money ain't everything. It's important because it has to do with everything. If you working for Target or Walmart, if they go bankrupt, you ain't got no job. That mean they ain't got no money. So it's important. If your rent needs to be paid, your mortgage needs to be paid, your car note needs to be paid, you need money.
Right.
If your child or your spouse is dealing with a major health crisis and your health insurance does not cover that surgery, you need money. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you feel about the dollar, you need it. You need it.
Agree.
You know, and it comes with power.
And it has nothing to do with materialism. No, you just need, like, to live even a basic life costs money.
It costs.
It costs
It
money.
costs money. So I agree with you on that.
So-
I agree with you on that.
Well, this has been Couch Conversations.
Conversation.
You know,
World-class conversation.
world-class conversations, of course. That's his.
It's
his
my little
agency.
slogan.
All right, we out of here. I got nothing else to say to y'all. Catch us next time.